Welcome. We are back. Surprise, surprise. You
Hey!
didn't know. Hey, TJ, we are back into the business again with this show. I know
Hey,
you've had to deal with
Jacob.
huh?
I said, hey, Jacob.
Hey, you've been through some pretty crazy times, haven't you?
Yes, unfortunately, my mother has passed away. She wasn't well, and we didn't know. And by the time she got diagnosed and was in the hospital and everything, it turns out she had stage 4 cancer. And, you know, right after that, I mean, it was just a matter of days before we put her in hospice care because of her medical needs and stuff. And then within a few days, she had passed. So this is bearing very tough on me and my dad. It's just me and him right now.
And it's understood completely. And the one big thing that a lot of people, people are gonna watch something like this back into the future and all that stuff. When they see it, they're gonna. One of the things that a lot of people will say is like, as sad as this is, and it is, and you see on your Facebook, you had a lot of people give you the condolences, and they think a lot of you, and
Yeah.
and they think about that. It's like every single one of them are going to absolutely say, I mean, that is the greatest thing that someone of that age did not have to suffer.
Well, absolutely. And that's one good thing that my dad and I did not want. And we made it very clear to my mom when she was still able to understand us that, chemotherapy was going to have its side effects and not really give her quality of life for very long.
Yeah.
And we didn't we just even she agreed she didn't want to do that. And so the only other option was hospice care until the end, and the end came very, very quickly.
Like what, 4 days?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's like, see, you and I do have a little bit in common. Yours was 4 days, but I mean, my dad's was 4 hours, which that's,
Whew.
yeah, 4 hours. They brought him home 3:30. He was gone by 7:30. So it's like that might be a record. But
Yeah, no kidding.
yeah, I mean, but hey, settled in. But that's the big thing that I would wish on anybody in the world, especially when there's family that just like lay there for months and months and months. I
Or
would
longer.
wish that, and yeah, or years even. It's like they can. It's like, yeah, we're all gonna miss our family. We're all gonna. I mean, we're all gonna be our own orphans one day. You know what I'm saying? It's all that happens. But the biggest disaster on our own selves is watching the family just linger.
I know, and I hate that. And I'm gonna go ahead and remove this virtual background because it's kind of
Well, you're
messing up my.
you're part of it. You're part of it.
I know, I'm kinda disappearing in it. And, well, it's
No,
just the
they would have thought you
camera.
were they would have thought you were one of those activists.
Well,
You're
I was
sticking
kinda
yourself to the
kinda coming out of the painting, you know what I mean? It's just kind
yeah.
of this blur of the really, really okay.
No, you're like
Alright.
an act. You're like an activist. You're trying to say just stop oil. you're
Yeah,
just you're sticking yourself to
right.
the paint.
Well, anyway, let me get comfy here on this.
Yeah.
And so we just had our first topic of the night. I'll go ahead and bring that up. And let me get a banner up here.
We're all learning this. You know what I'm saying? I didn't do banners until our last one. Remember?
Right. Go ahead and get this up here. Here we go. Woo! Well, what a
Definitely not
contest,
the red
huh? What
wave.
a contest.
Not a red wave, but not in blue. Definitely not a blue wave either.
I'm actually, you know how I feel about it all, and I won't go into all of it, but I'm actually very pleased at, what the Democrats have done. I mean, they got in there. I mean, everyone from the media to all these, you know,
Hmm.
grandstanding whatever's, pundits and all that were like, "Oh, there's going to be a red wave. We're going to see that." Well, there's been a little bit. I'd say it's been a red shower.
Yeah, yeah,
Not a
yeah.
red wave, a red shower.
Well,
Um,
red wave in Florida and red wave in North Carolina, but
well,
a lot of other places no.
those are just 2 states. And but it didn't charge ahead. We still are waiting on the Senate. and
Yeah.
things aren't final there yet. So,
What's not final in the House? It's 213, 206 right now for the Republicans. So that's gonna be within 4 or 5. You know what I'm saying? That's not gonna be a whole lot. It's like the main thing that a GOP the GOP House taking that over is just they're just gonna block. They're just gonna block every kind of. For one thing, they're gonna go to impeach. They're gonna go to impeach Biden, which I can't stand that.
well, what do they have against what for what?
But well, they're what they're. I'll tell you this: what it is for, it's going to be revenge on what the time with Trump, which a
Well,
couple of
no,
was one of those.
you cannot use the impeachment process on something like that. It's got to
Yeah, I
be
know you
real.
shouldn't. You shouldn't. They will. But I'm saying that the one of them was legitimate. One of them was bullshit on Trump. But these right here, what they're going to there's going to be a couple of things they're going to use it on, and of course they're going to get it. The biggest issue I have with is the fact that Kamala's a heck of a lot worse. And Kamala's a heck of a lot worse, and I sure as heck don't want her. I know from our end we're yin and yang, we're different thought processes. I sure don't want her in there. So it's like I'd rather just
Um,
let Biden be.
yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Think about it. They need to think before they pursue this because first of all, it would be stupid. All right.
Yeah,
I mean, they got nothing to impeach him on, even with those conservative Supreme Court schmuckolas in there. They're going to sit there and look at the law and say, "Well, what do you have? What are you impeaching him for?
right.
What are you
Yeah.
impeaching him for?"
One of the things you got with the Supreme Court, though, one of the things with that is the fact that go back to all. I get the SCOTUS blog on my Twitter. You know what I'm saying? I read them all the time.
Mhm.
I'll copy the things all the time. Main thing about it is the fact that the SCOTUS is, I mean, for being Trump's, is very independent. There's a lot. Kavanaugh has taken the Democratic side quite a bit on
Mm.
different issues, and he's a lot more independent than I think Trump even thought he would be. He literally goes to the letter of the law.
Well, they should. No matter if they're conservative or liberal, they need to go by the letter of the law. Okay, and that's it. I mean, you can't just sit there and say, "Oh, screw what they wrote. We're going to do what we want." No, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
And
go ahead.
well, I'm just saying that it's going to be up to the Supreme Court to keep any of those House members in check. I mean, I think a lot of Republicans really don't want to impeach Biden either. Maybe a few
Well,
extremists do, but not all of them. Okay.
the thing is, like for instance, I'm just going to use the example when they impeached Trump twice. More
Oh, the
than the
second time was kinda dumb.
Yeah, more than what. That's just an ego trip when they did on that one. But more than one Democrat wanted. I mean, I'm not kidding you. Just because it was comparison to Trump, more than one wanted Pence to take his spot. There isn't a Republican that wants Kamala to take Biden's,
Right.
and it's like considering that she is not. See, Pence was in the public eye a lot more than Kamala Harris is. As far as like
Right.
Kamala's not there in comparison, you know.
She's
But
kind of
go ahead.
she just drifts into the background. I mean, I don't know. I mean, she came across a lot more forceful in the actual presidential elections,
Yeah,
okay? She came across a lot more forceful. Now she's just kind of, I'll just sit back over here and just twiddle my thumbs. So I don't know.
I feel like Kamala. I feel like Kamala is the they took. I feel like they took Trump's strategy on that is he got Pence because they say, "Oh, I dare you to do this," because it's going to be him. You know,
Right.
the one that would completely and utterly destroy. And we've talked about this before. Trump by himself. I mean, he all 4 years he was in there. He gave the money to Planned Parenthood. In the end, it's like, okay. I mean, but it's like his that is not his goal in life to destroy Planned Parenthood. But it would be Pence's.
Yes. Um, yeah, I know. And I just well, going back to the midterms, as you can see there's a little cat fight going on in the Republican corner between DeSantis and Trump now. So
DeSantis will destroy him. DeSantis will beat him
oh
to
yeah, I
see
know.
every see DeSantis is a JAG officer, judge advocate general officer.
Mhm.
He's been huh?
I said, "Mhm."
He's also younger. He's 44 years old. He's my age.
Right.
He is much younger. He's got just as much energy. He's a younger, like I said, he's not a young version. He's smarter than Trump. But the biggest thing with him is the fact that it's this they both have the same energy, but he can keep his longer because he's younger.
Well, of course. I mean, any day now, Trump could collapse of a heart attack. It's just one of those bits. It could his energy and all that power that that you seem to admire, it could undo him one day. He could just burn out.
Well, and I well see this is what I used to say with Trump when I did vote for him. I used to talk to everybody about it. They'd say, "Oh my God, you like him?" I said, "I wouldn't say like. I say I know what he is. I know what he is." And it's like, yeah, I admire the energy because Biden has none. I mean, Trump can walk. I've seen Trump in the pro am for golf, and he walked all 18 holes. So he's
Yeah.
75 years old. He's got the energy. So that Biden doesn't have that energy. And I'll tell you who would have the energy for your sake is Bernie.
Oh, well, yes, I know that. But, the Democratic National Convention shot themselves in the foot by not putting him in there or promoting him rather. And I have nothing more to say about it. Everybody on the planet who's left wing who's said about anything about it would have preferred him. Okay. And you know, it is what it is. And
Now,
he's
what
too
would
old
you?
to run
Now, I
now.
want to hear your thing. It's like the Democrats blew to. They're going to lose one of their houses. That is no question. There, one of them. If not, but we don't know if it's both. We're just going to say the guarantee's one. You know what I mean? They're going to
Hmm.
get one. Where do you think? Where are some things that you'd think that they've just blown up on that they're terrible at messaging or whatever? Where do you think their issue is? The Democrats.
They are stepping further and further away from practical needs of the working people of this country, and they're going further and further over into this ideology and identity politics, insisting on pronouns and well, I'm going to say this for I don't give a damn what you call yourself. I don't
Yeah.
give a damn what you may feel like you are in your head, okay? I
Yeah.
don't care. I don't It's none of my business. If that's your choice, then be who you are and get on with it, all
Yeah.
right? On the other end, I do not believe they ought to be enacting laws that forbid people to use the bathroom of their choice,
All
all
right.
right?
Yeah.
I am so sorry, but that does not need to exist. It just doesn't. All right? You gotta pee, you gotta pee. Go do it somewhere. Just not in the hallway, not on the floor. And I gotta tell you, I ain't no trans woman alive who is gonna attack a female in the girls' bathroom, in the women's bathroom. It is not going to happen unless that woman is trying to steal her purse or something. Then yeah, she'll clobber her. But no, for no other reason than that. Okay?
Um,
I mean,
yeah.
it's just not gonna happen. And a trans man going into the men's room, I don't think the guy would even notice, okay? Going in and out of the stall, doing your business, and wash your hands and get out. No one's gonna even notice. So,
Well,
I don't know why it's an issue.
I'll tell you where I believe, and I'll say this. This will go back to Trump for a second because, like I said, I chose Trump to get rid of Hillary. I'll admit this part, but I'm totally DeSantis guy. I like DeSantis. I was like I knew what Trump was. I mean, I respect certain things, but would he like me? No. But the
Well, let me get back to the Democrats a minute.
okay.
The bathroom thing aside, they're focusing too much on these fringe issues while people over here in the middle and even slightly to the right are feeling like, well, what about us? You know, let's quote Bill Maher again for a second here. And he had it right. He said, these lawyers do not represent me.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And first of all, Florida enacting laws banning transgender care.
Hmm.
We don't need that. Okay? We don't need that. It's just it's smoke. It's just a law does not exist to prevent a biological male from getting gender affirming health care and transitions and whatever they want, and things like that. I mean, they're giving away Viagra, for goodness sake, to men who can't get it up. All right,
A
and
lot of a lot of things
a
that you're
lot more
bringing.
of Viagra than
Yeah.
transgender care. Let me tell you.
Well, I will say this. The reason a lot of that happened, like I'll give you a story. In Tennessee, there was a gentleman, we were going to watch a movie sometime on Daily Wire. It was, What is a Woman? It was with Matt Walsh.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the part of the thing about Matt Walsh is he found out that Tennessee was doing these gender affirming care for like 13 kids, like 14 and under, and going into seminars and bragging about it and talking about it on video. And he got on. And what happened was he got into the Senate and talked to the politicians in Tennessee to get that crap banned and that place closed over in Vanderbilt University. So then Florida got in and did their thing, did it their way, what they did. So that started in Tennessee.
I think by the time a person is 17 years of age, okay, they pretty much know what direction they're going to take in life. All right. Under age 17 is too young. All right. I
Right.
agree with that. I agree with that. Prepubescents do not need to be taking puberty blockers
Yeah. And
where
that's
they
where
are.
that's where
They
it's
can
become
present,
the thing.
however. They can
Yeah.
present, however. An 11-year-old boy can certainly grow his hair long and wear nail polish if he wants to, and no
Yeah.
one's really gonna know one way or the other at that age,
Right.
okay? By age 17, yeah. Yeah, you're a step away from adulthood, okay? So it's time to start making your own choices, and I agree with that,
Yeah.
okay? They can and should be allowed to do that.
Yep.
Um, but we're talking about a percent of the population. Why are we enacting laws against these people?
To make sure that it doesn't go. I'm just telling you what theirs. I'm not saying mine, but I'm saying that to make sure it doesn't go any farther up than a percent of a percent. That's what the worry is.
Uh, but if it's genuine, okay? If it's genuine, if it's real, and a lot of people will tell you when they get into their 30s and 40s and transition, they're like, "I wanted to do this 20 years ago."
A lot of issues is the fact that remember what Bill Maher said, that a lot of these, especially the TikTok world, turns this kind of stuff into turns it into like, oh, we gotta be cool, we gotta do this.
Well,
It's a
I'm
trend.
very sorry, but there's a difference between a genuine need for the mental health care of a trans person who is in internally who's trans, who's in there, all in all ways. I mean, even from age 2 and 3 and 4, you can sort of tell a child's behavior and kind of how which way they're going to be and how they're going to be when they get older.
Yeah.
Okay, as opposed to just, oh, I'm going to do this because it's cool.
Yeah.
No, parents also know their child.
Yeah.
All right, they know.
Yeah.
They
And
may not agree with it, but they know.
well, one of the biggest things I was going to bring up to where I'm at with the Republicans. You just brought up what your thing with Democrats. I'm going to bring mine with the Republicans. And this is the funniest part because I said it went back to Trump. This is the funniest part. He said two things just as he started his presidency that people aren't going to believe, but it actually was. Yeah, he was actually on a video. They did, and I hope I can find it sometime for you to see that. The Republicans by themselves show themselves to be very heartless at times. Very heartless on things like it's like, for instance, they will cut they will cut money from like schools to get breakfast for the kids in the morning,
Yeah.
and they will do that. And literally, I'm not saying that it was this part, but they were asking Trump about something like this. It wasn't about schools, but about something else. And the thing he even said, the guy with the biggest ego alive, he even said this. No, it was about Medicare. They're asking him about Medicare one time. And it's like, what are you going to do about Medicare now? He just said, I can't let them die on the street. Trump said this, the biggest ego of life. He said, "I can't let them die in the street. We got to,
Well,
we get,
he's a lot of things, but he's not a murderer,
yeah,
okay? And he's not a butcher,
yeah,
okay? In many ways, he's very stupid, childish, and impulsive, but he's not a butcher,
yeah."
That's all there is to that.
But I mean, he said that, and then he said it also about they were asking him if he wanted to do the war with like with some of these guys, and he says, "I've got grandkids." And
Mhm.
see, I've got grandkids. I mean, I don't want this whole. And it's like, see, when he is saying these things, and there's Republicans that are like, "Go to war, go to war." Okay, we got to cut this. We got to do this. And it's like, I've always said, if I ran for any office, yeah, would I run a Republican? Yes. Would some Republicans end up hating me more than one? It's like, because to me, there are certain issues I think your Democrats have that I'd like to steal.
Well, they do have they do have the needs of the needy and the underprivileged in mind, in mind. But here's the thing is, needy and underprivileged does not isolate it to certain minority groups, okay?
Yeah,
Now, there's another thing where Democrats start kinda alienating a broad, very broad voting base here in this country. Not everyone who's poor and underprivileged or disadvantaged is Black, Latino, Asian, or whatever,
yeah,
okay? I want you to watch this. Super Size Me number 2 is a sequel to the first Super Size Me, which was filmed in 2002. It's called Super Size Me 2: Holy Chicken,
yeah,
okay? And
yeah,
these are featuring the chicken industry, the chicken fast food industry, and chicken farming, especially. Now, you get a guy like Trump, giving the farmers breaks. These farmers are chicken farmers and talking directly to them about what big business makes them
yeah,
do, which basically runs their businesses into the ground with
yeah,
these regulations and standards on
yeah,
how to cultivate their chickens.
yeah. Well, and they bulk it up. They bulk it up so they can't even walk.
Not just the birds, it's all heating systems. This one guy, but watch the video, and it's called Super Size Me 2:
Hmm.
Holy Chicken.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
They talked something about that in one of our. You remember the one thing about food? You know, the
yes.
Food Inc. Food Inc. They talked about that too, where they were jacking up the chickens so dang heavy that they couldn't even
Well, and
walk.
not
And then
only that, yes, and these things are happening, and they show in this documentary, Super Size Me 2, how chickens who get to be such a certain, weight and size, they actually die. They have heart attacks.
yeah,
And then there's this whole segment in that movie about that. Like, they're finding dead chickens around that have just, you know,
yeah,
legs up, they die of heart attacks. So that's losses there.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And
Well, I
no,
mean, I think it behoove anyone to look at that to understand what big business. Every time you buy from Tyson or Purdue, just know that's what they're doing to smaller farmers. And there was a lawsuit, and I do believe they settled. Okay.
yeah, 35 million. You said.
Yes, they settled. But still, if the practice continues, it doesn't help the farmers that are coming up, you know? They need
Well,
to stop
know,
doing that.
well, you want to know something is like there is one there's one party that pretends to have heart and one that doesn't have it. In either way, we're in the same boat. In certain way, it's like by itself, we don't. Both sides have miserable messaging, the terrible messaging on a certain thing. They both say they're for the people, but it's like I literally see an ad. I literally see an ad that says the anti-white racism. I saw this ad one day. Like it was anti-white racism, and I'm like, have we gotten this far now where somebody like white people, which is 77% of the country, where
Yeah.
they literally where it's gotten that, but they bringing that in, and that's going to get votes. But we've gotten that far in that thought process.
Well, until it is understood and appreciated by the broad spectrum of this country's population, of economic levels, okay? There are very rich Black people out there,
Yep.
okay?
Yep.
There are very rich Asians out there.
Very rich.
They're wealthy. But
Yeah.
what percentage of those in the overall population are there?
Like
Probably very small,
very,
okay?
very small. Oh no, they're
When
very
you look
rich.
at the 77% of the Caucasians who are in this country,
Yeah.
and you said there's more rich white people, well, yes, because there are more white people, period.
Period.
There's
Yeah.
also a great many poor white people,
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I
and
said,
those are the ones that the Democrats need to be targeting, and those are the ones the Republicans are now targeting, but they're wolves in sheep's clothing, I
well,
think.
well,
I
and
don't think they give a rat's patoot about poor people, poor communities, their state, improving their conditions economically and otherwise. I don't believe.
The Democrats don't either. The thing is, they're just pretending. That's the whole point, you know. Democrats don't care either. That's the thing. They don't care either. But it's like there's a messaging deal. The whole point of the messaging is like it's they do the same messaging over and over and over again. But that one person, and I'm going to say I don't have to agree with him to get this, but the one person that's actually tried to do it and it gets nowhere, and it's including his own party, is Bernie Sanders.
Yep.
He actually tries. I mean,
Yeah.
I've showed you videos of him talking about the same thing, 1997, same thing. He's the only
Yep.
one that doesn't change his mind. I mean, that was the whole thing of when they thought it was going to be Trump versus Bernie. When they thought it was going to be Trump versus Bernie, they literally were showing both of them in videos that they were the only two that had been saying the same thing in their own little thing the whole time.
All
Like
right.
Trump used to talk about trade with the Japan instead of China,
Mhm.
but it was trade with Japan. He just brought that up. He was saying the same thing like back in '88. So those things, and then Bernie's just been going on and on about his, and it's like those are the kind of things that scare the regular establishment politicians when somebody doesn't change their mind.
Well, someone who has strong convictions and sticks with them over time, um, it means they really mean it.
Yeah,
Okay, it means they really mean it. Of course, that's gonna scare politicians like hell because they don't mean a word that comes out of their mouths.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that is gonna. You got to. One of the biggest things is like in the end, there are so many politicians that make a pile of money doing this under the
Yeah.
table, all that stuff. It's like in the end, it's like a lot of the money is based off. Okay, you'll get this. We as humans, I mean, it's been going on forever and ever and ever in politics. But we as humans, maybe we need a refresh of just like where can we help? It's like, and I'm not even talking about getting, giving money to the poor or doing anything like that. It's like, where do we help with educating people on things? It's like, where do we help with the alternative energy and educating them on alternative energy instead of forcing it down people's throats?
Well, you do like this documentarian, Morgan Spurlock is doing. You get
Yeah.
to the bottom of it and you expose it, okay? You get to the
Yeah.
real nitty-gritty, but there are too few of them actually doing that. In fact, Spurlock himself, during this, Super Size Me 2 documentary, chronicles his efforts to reach out to advertisers, promoters, business people about saying, "I wanna be a chicken farmer."
Yeah.
And he gives them his name, and the people know who he is. They say, aren't you a documentary filmmaker?" And he's
Right.
like, yes, I am. I'm also a chicken farmer," which at the
Right.
time he wasn't. He was just going into the business.
Sure.
He says, "I'm
Sure.
also a chicken farmer." And people are kinda like, yeah, okay." So this is you see what I'm saying? A guy even who went through the exposed McDonald's and the fast food industry of what it's doing and what it does, people are reluctant to have anything to do with him because they know if there's even so much a drop of insincerity in there, he's gonna expose it. And, of course, that's gonna scare the hell out of some of these business people.
I have to wonder though,
Politicians too, for that matter.
when you get these documentarians, and they get, I mean, and you'll get something like these documentaries, and you'll get yeah, you'll get some of these networks that do behind the scene, or they'll do the hidden cameras. They'll do all this stuff, and I mean, it exposes everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Everything they do exposes everyone. And it's like you can expose the right wing, the businessmen, they expose the left of what they do. You got to wonder how much ego is out there for people if we get to know everybody else. This doesn't ever change your practices. I mean, you're talking about chickens, for
Yeah.
instance. You're talking about chickens. This was done 20 years ago with Food Inc., with Super Size Me. These things were done, and we're still talking about it.
Because it's still going on. Nothing's
Yeah,
changed.
yeah. It's like, where's the humanity in that? And I'm like, guess what? Humanity should not. And there's going to be people that would watch this someday and they would wonder if I'm liberal. Humanity should not be a partisan. That shouldn't be partisan.
Well, I agree, but unfortunately, things get politicized when it's controlled by a bigger entity, okay?
Yeah,
When one, it needs money, and
yeah.
that's unless you've got a billionaire like your Warren Buffetts and some of these
Hmm.
others pouring money into, say, public schools. But the thing about the public schools is it continuously needs it. All right? Because when those kids graduate, there's gonna be more kids coming in, and those kids graduate, and there's gonna be more coming in.
Yeah.
And because of public schools, it gets in the lowest common denominator of a person, all right? Which means those who are kinda in up here in the upper middle and higher, they're gonna say, "Nope, if I can afford it, I'm sending my kid to a private school." And then what happens is you lose that money, and then all you got are the poor.
But we're going to
So
talk about
then
this for a
what? And but
second.
then again, what's also the disadvantage is, yes, a lot of those kids don't give a shit. Okay, I agree. I agree. They don't give a shit. They don't
Yeah.
care. I
Yeah.
don't think they should be in there. Now,
And,
here's
yeah.
why you're going to argue with me on this. Oh, well, every kid has the right to an education. Yeah, but they don't have to the right to take their criminal behavior into a classroom.
Well, that is very true. And I'm not
There
arguing
are
with you on
metal
that.
detectors on inner city schools.
And something, we're going to talk about this more in a minute, but I mean, Stacey Abrams lost. It's like I'm not going to gloat on that part there. I'm just using it as the
Well, I
conversation
know
tonight.
that.
Yeah,
But
I'm not gonna.
Walker and Warnock are going into,
Yeah,
runoff.
well, that's see Warnock. Warnock put that on himself. He could have easily beaten him. But he just pressed the wrong issue. But the thing about Stacey Abrams, it's like people were saying they're using the race card on why she shouldn't be a governor. A lot of people are doing that, especially you go online. And there's, for one thing, her support from black men dropped 13% from the last election, which that was her death. I mean, Kemp won by 300,000 votes. He won by 300,000 votes. That some of those were probably the black men.
A good many probably are, but here's the thing. Whether you're a black male or a white male or any other kind of male, most men deep down in their heart of hearts will never admit this, they resent taking orders from women,
I believe that.
okay?
Yeah.
And Stacey Abrams is a very strong, domineering sort of woman.
Well, she'd have to
I
be to be able to carry
believe
that weight.
I believe she would get things done, but I believe she would do things that would make a lot of those people unhappy.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it though, and I can say this. My joke I was going to say is, well, she'd have to be strong to carry the weight around. But but the thing is,
She's not that big.
but no.
Not that big.
But the thing is though, the thing I have to say to anybody that has been saying things like that, you're right about taking the orders from a woman. You know what I'm saying? But this is the thing I have to say with it. When I can say that their shot is better if they can completely prove that they're going to be for every single person. Because I can tell you this right now, I can tell you this right now, who's hurting Stacey Abrams? It's Lori Lightfoot in Chicago, the mayor of Chicago. We call her
Hmm,
Beetlejuice. We call her Beetlejuice because she looks her
right.
neighborhood. But it's like she's hurting Stacey Abrams because she talked about the same stuff that Stacey Abrams does. Their crime has never been worse. They don't have a jobs. They don't have anything. It is just in miserable shape. She she went above and beyond going outside. Kids wanted to go play basketball, and she was telling them to go back indoors, even though outdoors would probably help their system during COVID. She was doing all this. She was pushing the mask stuff. There was never. She was pushing the mask things like crazy. There was never more in Chicago. There's terrible COVID, and she was doing that. Their crime is miserable. There's all that stuff. And Lori Lightfoot is hurting someone like Stacey Abrams with the way, because if anybody could prove, if Lori Lightfoot's a strong black woman, just like Stacey Abrams is, but if they could prove that they're going to work with everyone and they're going to try to work with getting crime down, instead they're not working on getting crime down. The Democrats are not. A lot of them. I mean, Illinois right now, they're going to do this called Safety Act, which takes away cash bail for criminals. They're taking that away. That goes to all of Illinois.
Why?
Just there's a lot of people that just have a distaste for cops. That's what Democrats are doing right now in certain areas.
Well, see, I don't know that full story, so I'm not going to comment on
Well,
that.
you can look that up. It's Safety Act, SAFE-T. You can look it
Right.
up. It's no issue. I'm just telling you.
Right. I do know that people are sick of crime. They really are. And what they're sick of criminals because what's happened with COVID is during the lockdowns, a lot of the indigenous people, I guess you want to call them,
Mm-hmm.
who are living out in tents and sleeping bags on the side of the roads and walk around downtown Atlanta, you see plenty of them.
Yeah,
Probably Chicago too, okay? But in Chicago's case, it has always had crime. Chicago's always been high crime. Atlanta has high crime.
yeah,
It's a major city with a lot of very poor and disadvantaged people that have nothing to do and nowhere to go. Mental illness.
yeah.
Hey, get me started on that one, honey. There needs to be housing for these people. Even if it's nothing but a big old warehouse where they could just throw a sleeping bag down and sleep, but they need to be off the street. And if they
One
were
of
on
the
the street, they wouldn't be out making committing crimes. All right?
well,
I'm sorry.
but one of the biggest things that is, like I said, the thing at the Lori Lightfoot's Chicago, which is miserable, is the fact that they talk about jobs, they talk about all this, cleaning up the street, anything. It's worse. Lori Lightfoot's Chicago is way worse. There are going to be people that have that fear that Stacey Abrams, Atlanta, their Georgia, will get that bad. When you see things like that, there's going to be that fear of that. It's like not only would it get worse in really good areas like it did in Chicago also, but then it would get worse in the bad areas, which it did in Chicago. There are people with that fear.
Yeah, I know. Well, I don't know. And I don't know the recent midterm elections, which we're talking about, I don't see how this little small gains in the House are going to correct these big problems that are happening all over the country. I don't see how.
Yeah,
In fact, on the governor's race, Democrats gained two, Republicans lost two.
yeah. Oh yeah, but
So I'm going to
there's
say,
flips.
how is with all they saying? Oh, we're going to fix the economy. Oh, we're going to fix crime. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Well, on the small gains that they did get, they gained what 9 seats in the House, and the
So
Democrats
far,
lost.
yeah.
All right,
They
well,
well,
but how is that going to fix the greater problem that's happening all over? I don't see how.
well, Democrats have really made a message with the Republicans, giving the Republicans a easy message with this. Just the idea that the cops can arrest you again. Democrats really made that mistake.
The
Just
cops can't arrest you.
the cops let a lot of. You have to look this up. The cops, like in Illinois, they literally can't hold somebody for assault. They can't hold them for they can't hold them for like burglary. They can't hold them for things. There's things they can't hold them with. It literally would have to be a complete violent crime for them to hold a criminal. That starts January 1.
Well, you know something. There are also there's now going to be very, very even harder to prove a rape on a female Now
Hmm.
there's another thing that where we're not where it's flip-flopped in the other direction.
Yeah.
Rapists and criminals, crimes against women, okay, they're not gonna be held accountable, and even if that woman has a pregnancy as a result of a rape, she will not be able to get an abortion in certain states, okay? This is the flip side of that coin, all right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I want to hear these. We got to hear. It's called conversation. You get
I
this
know
because
that,
we got to learn something. Got
but
to
in
learn
certain
something.
states, and I've read them, okay?
Hmm.
I can't recall as specifically which ones, but I do know that is the case in some
Yep.
states, and they're trying to also criminalize people for taking women across the state lines to obtain an abortion. So,
Indeed.
I mean, you're look at this now. Look how far off the beam we are with this.
Yeah. We're far off the beam with. I mean, with a lot of things, we came far off the beam. It's why we had the like New York right now. He only lost by the governor's race. He only lost by a white male in New York just lost by 6 points, and it just led to a bunch of House seats went Republican. Literally, New York is now purple, which is a giant shock.
Yeah.
Which is a giant shock, and it's like California's not there yet, but who knows? Who knows one day?
Well, a lot of Republican House members have been elected in California, so
Well, I'm just saying, who knows if it's really blue right now. I say, who knows if that turns purple one day? Because I wouldn't have believed New York would. It's the New York. They've got the city left, but everybody else is they gained a lot of red in there. You know what I mean?
well, upstate did. They sure
Yeah.
did. Yeah, up near Albany, the Catskills, and that
Hmm.
area. That's very rural. Okay, that is
Yeah.
rural New York. I mean,
Yeah.
that's New York City is that little island, and then you have the boroughs there. That's a very small portion of New York. New York State's huge.
Yeah.
Go up near Niagara. That's near Canada.
Yeah.
So that's a it's a different it's a different vibe up there. Okay.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And even
By
if
the
you talk
way,
to
got
New York
some
State,
got
if you talk to people upstate, they refer to New York City as a whole different place.
well, it's different personality, that's for sure.
Well, sure. So,
Got some news for everybody right now for as far as the races. As far as the races as we point right now, Oregon is about. I mean, Oregon's about to flip as far as a House seat to Republican, which that is that all of that happening with the Antifa and the riots brought that on. And it's like
mhm.
the Oregon governor's race went Democrat. There's a bunch of things that went Democrat there still, but even the idea of Oregon having a red area on the for a seat, Washington would be a possibility. There's probably small areas that have those.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a red. But just the idea that they could flip in these areas, the idea that it's a purple, that New York's not purple, people are tired. Like the school boards all over the country went Republican.
Yeah.
School boards went Republican like crazy because of so many different, just like the idea that the whole point of what the Democrats did with a lot of the Democrats did with their messaging was, you can't tell us how to teach your kid. That was their whole message, and they lost a pile of school board seats.
Well, I'm gonna have to say something about education here.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna have a public school curriculum and a standardized testing, parents cannot dictate what schools can teach. They can't. Okay. Statewide and even national levels of requirements, because I am sorry, the younger generations are getting stupider in a lot of ways, spending more and more time on the internet rather than reading classical literature, understanding classical art, painting, music, history, real history, not the shit you read on Wikipedia, okay? And science, actual physical, right in front of you, bada bing, bada boom, undeniable science.
Yeah.
D- d- I was just talking to my dad about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and he's like, "What in the hell are they doing investing in something that's not there?"
That was the
Well,
remember that was the
welcome to the
remember the
damn
dot com.
fucking internet generation.
Well, you got to remember the dot com boom is the same boat. That got what bust. The dot com boom went bust because that is something is investing in something that's the only thing that you see is a dot com, but by the end it's a speculative. That went
Right.
to boom bust too.
Well, I think cryptocurrency is gonna blow. This guy just lost 94% of $15 billion on
Well,
this crash.
FTX, and I can
Yes.
tell you this part: they've got two stadiums. They got two stadiums that they have naming rights, and I'm not trying to bring sports. I'm just telling this to you. They got two stadiums with naming rights for $135 million they can't pay for. They're about to get sued.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah,
There you go. It's another dot bomb.
yeah, yeah,
We're gonna have
and
another one.
and and it's like this is the thing. So many people are still to this day trying to get Warren Buffett and try to discredit him. Oh, he's old. Oh, we got to do this now. He's old. But you look at the money he continues to make when we have recessions. Look at the money he continues to make.
Yep.
Look at the money he will continue. He owns Geico. He
Yeah.
has a ton of stuff. He has a ton of interest in Coca Cola. And it's like these are classic. These are classic the deal. But I mean, he owns Seeds Candies. He owns these are just whether it's big or small. These are just classical businesses. Classic businesses, and it's like it is money that you can pull out of your pocket. What Warren Buffett invests in is money you can pull out of your pocket.
That's right.
It he invests in that. It's and all that kind of stuff. People keep investing in speculation, and this keeps happening. They're getting there now, which understood. It's like playing poker. It's like playing poker, but it's like you'll get these people. All you have to do is have a big night, and all of a sudden, bam, gone. And I'm a good poker player. I know this part. I'm also a safer poker player than most. But
Oh yeah.
it, it, those are the things those are the messages that we have. It's the fact that people take chances. It's like we're in an economy, and I am a capitalist minded person, but we're in an economy of it used to be, I call it, this is my sayings, mine.
Mm-hmm.
I call it the GM economy. Like I said, it's a little, I'm gonna call it my little rectangle. It's like, let's see, the houses, the people there, they got their money, go to the let's see, they get their money and then they go spend their money. They go get to the bank, go to their thing, they go spend the money, go back home. Taxes. Then taxes, then you do all that. You know what I'm saying? Money
Yep.
just flows. That flows around. It's maybe slower. The amounts might be slower. It might be 3 or 4% the amount, but it's slow and it's steady. Now it's a Las Vegas economy. The booms are immense, but so are the
And the
busts.
crashes are immense.
Yeah, the boom,
Look at
the
Amazon.
yeah,
Amazon just lost
one
trillion.
trillion, 1 trillion today. Yeah, and it's and so and they'll probably gain and next week they'll probably gain 1.2 trillion from interest next week. That's just the thing. It's like because they'll have this way, but that is how these businesses that's how the thing is. I call it the Las Vegas economy.
Yep.
It's the Las Vegas economy is where like I said, everything is for booms, and the booms are bigger.
Hmm.
Means the booms do mean we all have jobs. The booms do mean we all spend more.
Oh yeah.
We the booms do mean that, but the busts are see that was what I will give this on Trump on the thing with COVID. I'm not going to put COVID on the blame on him. I will put this one blame. The idea of his economy is where you can have a bust. You know what I mean? A bust when the economy goes to hell because he's totally a Las Vegas economy guy.
Oh yeah.
So it's like when you get that, you sink when things good. When you don't save, when you borrow so much, and then this happens, and everybody has to stay in. Money can't keep flowing in.
Right.
And then his way is borrowing. That's what he's been all his life.
Well, I don't know. When you've got poor people, and I don't mean poor in terms of like, sitting out on the street with a sign and saying, "We'll work for food," that kind of poor.
Yeah.
You've got poor, like chicken farmers, for example. This is a segment. This is a an area of society where everybody encounters their handiwork at some point or another. The chickens you go by at the grocery store or in a fast food restaurant all come from these chicken farms.
Yeah.
So but they don't know what is going on with the farmers.
Yeah.
Okay. And they
Yeah.
are struggling. Smaller independent family farms are struggling
Yep.
because of Tyson and Purdue. And I think Koch Farms is another one. There's several of them, and the class action lawsuit against them was said these people are making us broke, that they can't even make a profit off of what of their expenditures. So, you know, and then you got, a guy like Trump, and I don't know. There's no one of those guests on Bill Maher. What was her name? Katie something or other, and I can forget her last name, but she wrote the book. She was a
Caddy. I forget the name. It's Caddy, but Caddy. Yeah, I'll remember in a second. But
she was the guest alongside Andrew Sullivan.
yeah, Caddy K.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And then she said, there's no center.
Yeah.
And this goes for economic center as well as political center.
Yeah.
You got a lot more poor, lower income and poor, and the shrinking middle class. I mean, the middle class is being shifted slowly because the cost of everything is being shifted slowly to the poor end, while you've got these handful of billionaires over here.
I'll tell you this. I'll tell you where it really is. This is where, and this is something that anybody of any letter can agree with. We used to have, majority of us, I mean, where was your first job, by the way?
McDonald's.
Yeah, same with mine. Same with mine. I did it 3 different times. But McDonald's is my say. Well, actually, working for my dad was my first job, but it's the second, But it's like, but the whose wasn't their first job or whatever. But what we had was, you had kids that got their job in their 16th birthday. They saved their money for a car. They saved money. If they didn't get a car, they saved their money to go out with their buddies. They
Yes.
saved their money to do all this stuff. They had little things. Maybe they wanted to save to go to college.
They
Little
wanted to
things.
buy cool clothes.
Yeah, or buy some cool clothes or something. You see, they've saved and they did that stuff like that. You don't know what we're missing right now. It's like, mind you, the kids of now are, a lot of the kids are now are more badass than ever. There are kids that are going out and they're trying to raise millions of dollars for an idea, and they're like, go to Chick-fil-A. Go to Chick-fil-A, ask the kid what he wants to do. Oh, I want to be a civil engineer. I'm going to go to Georgia Tech. I mean, the kid's like 17 and he already knows what to do. And he wants to be, and they want to be and civil engineers and all that stuff. There's that kid. And then there's a guy that's 30 years old that's still at home living and playing with video games or whatever. But
Well, now you're talking about a certain individual proclivities and their lack of ambition or even.
But what I was saying is, like, there's no middle. Like we were talking about, the kids that want to go save their money, go get the cool clothes, go do all that stuff. A lot of them by itself, there's not an in between there.
Right.
You have the kids that have all the gumption in the world to go get something done big, and then the ones that have none. And if we don't have not a whole heck of a lot of middle.
No.
And those are the things I say. It's like, that's one thing that I would want to be able to see. It's like, as much as I mean, we need a middle class. We do. It's like, I can tell you this from somebody who's worked in retail for a very long time. Meet an Indian person. Now, mind you, they're very, very, they like to haggle. They like to negotiate. But meet an Indian person. I can say this about with the respect of all this. They start work very, 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 very early. Like the 13, 14, 15, they start early. They go to town.
A lot of them work in family businesses.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah,
learn the family business, a
yep.
lot of them.
And then they'll go to college, and then they might go to, and see, right now it's IT, but then they also might be family business, or they become
Doctors.
doctors. Doctors, yeah. All out of all that kind of stuff. But do you want to know what they've got out of all of that?
What?
See, they're 30 years old. A lot of them have no hair. A lot of them have very little hair, and they are stressed to the hill. But and then they watch every dime of that money that they get. But do you want to know what that is in the end?
What?
Severely, seriously disciplined culture.
So are
They're,
Asians.
huh?
So are Asians.
Which is Indian, but yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, it's like, I'm just saying, Indians, you're part of the Asian cultures, just disciplined,
Oh, yeah. I know that whole yeah, very much
just
so.
and they're disciplined, and it's like that is the one thing that I would want to be able to do if I could have a chance to change the world in the second part of my life, is get get help with some discipline with people. It's like, it's like they wonder how they're going to get how they can beat a politician. Wonder how they can beat a politician? I can tell you how we can beat a politician. A person at a time, actually knowing how money works.
Well, there's some people that know how money works,
Yeah,
but they're doing it in a very, very small scale. I mean, my dad knows how money works, okay?
sure.
I'll give him an example. He ain't a millionaire,
Yeah,
but he's also not doing it 24/7,
yeah,
okay?
yeah,
I mean, it's like anything else. If you're gonna do something 24/7 and make it completely your life's blood and then nothing else,
yeah.
then yeah. But then again, there's also unscrupulous practices involved in that. Let's just leave it at that.
There are unscrupulous practices in everything there is. That we do know that, and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The and by the way, I got some breaking news from about an hour ago, just to let everybody know on this. It's like the people will see this as history. A Texas judge struck down he basically struck down the whole law about financial aid.
What was the law on financial aid?
Uh,
That
taking $10,000, forgiving $10,000 for financial aid. Instead of
well,
forgiving for
forgiving it?
people, forgiving it.
Well, that was a Biden thing.
Yeah, a Texas judge struck it down.
Wow. In other
So
words,
now,
no student loan forgiveness for Texans. Is that it?
nope, for the country.
How could he do that?
It's a federal judge. It's a federal judge.
Oh,
He's from Texas.
but is it the Supreme Court?
Nope. But that's going to go to the Supreme Court now, probably.
Probably so.
Yep. It's a federal judge. He struck it down. They said it is unconstitutional, which that can have some kind of meaning, but it's like, really, by the end. See, that was another debate that people on Twitter did not understand. It's like they got the ones that hated it could not. Oh my God, he's going to forget so much. Oh my God, I didn't want. I had to pay. Blah blah blah. There are people that owe $86,000. $10,000 ain't gonna mean anything.
I know.
10 grand ain't gonna mean
Especially
anything.
especially when probably all they paid was about 40,000. Was the courses were only about 40,000,
Yeah,
and they owe 80,000.
yeah. They owe 80, and it's like 10 of that is not gonna mean. See, this is what people miss when you get knee jerk. They get knee jerk just like sports fans get knee jerk. Everybody
Yeah.
gets knee jerk. You get thought process like that. They don't think about this. It's like, read a little deeper. And I got to do this sometimes too. I mean, I had my nephew the other day, and I appreciated him, by the way. I was a little mad at one of these articles that were going on there, and then he reminded me that I was looking at the headline only, which my brother had to remind me of a pile of times.
Yes.
I make this
Well, just
mistake.
read the headlines.
Yeah, I make this mistake too. A lot of us make this mistake, but it's like when it comes to something like these, we all make the mistake, but it's like we need to read deeper. And people were so worried that he's going to forgive every dime of this, of like people are going to have trillions, we're going to go broke. It's $10,000 per student.
Yeah,
People
I
have to
know.
sign up for it, and it's like 10,000 is one thing if someone owes 10. It's another thing if the like the ones that owe 80,
Yeah,
and interest has been beating the crap out of them.
I know. Yes. I know that.
Yeah. I paid mine from my dad's passing. I got it in the will. I just used it to pay.
Yeah.
That was probably the smartest thing I did do.
My grandmother had set aside an education fund for me and my cousins, and we used that.
Yeah.
So,
It, so those there are things like this. There are things like, see, we're gonna be, see, that's the biggest thing is like, what I mean, Trump had to deal with it too. Obama had to deal with it. Everybody has to deal with it. This is the thing about checks and balances. With the what makes our country strong enough is the fact that our president, our leader, can get shut down. Trump got shut down too, quite a bit, by the lawyer, and he threw a fit like a little child, like he is. You know what I
uh,
mean? He threw a
yeah,
fit, but guess what? This country is checks and balances.
yes, but there's now fewer balances. Okay, there's just not much balancing it right now. I don't know.
Well, no,
Not
it's
like
checks and
not like there
balances.
has been.
Well, no, I mean, I would say, but just in that case, though, that it's like it's not What I mean by that is it's not authoritarian. That someone can tell them no if something's. And personally, to me, I don't mind. I didn't have a problem with Biden sticking it to 10 grand per person because, like I said, there's people that owe 80. That's
Yeah.
not going to make much of a difference on the thing. Maybe it'll give them some relief, from the interest.
Yep.
So I don't mind the 10. Where I would get mad is if he made it the majority or all of it. We just don't have the money to be doing that.
No.
We just don't. What we have to do also for educating everybody is everybody keeps looking at the 330 million people in this country and thinking we need to act like Sweden, which is like about 10 million. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's a different type. It's a different type of economy. It's a different type of thing. There's too many people. We couldn't have the same medical care.
No.
It, and
No, but there needs to be a public option for medical care is what I mean. And they were going to try to do that. That was what Obamacare was originally designed to do. But premiums of Obamacare are astronomical. I couldn't afford it. And
yeah.
I was, destitute and impoverished at one time some years ago. And I needed health insurance. I mean, we all know that story. That's for another day. And I ended up having to get basically free healthcare through an arts advocacy group, which now no longer exists.
Right.
Okay. But it's just no the cost of healthcare in this country is just way the hell too high. It just is.
See, and that's the one thing is there's always conversation on it. There's always conversation. It's like where we need to go is there are answers out there that need to be. They cannot be RD or even independent. They need to.
No.
They don't need to be. It's like they don't need to be that way. They don't need. They don't need to be. They don't need to have any kind of. They don't need to have a label. They don't need to have a label. They need
Doesn't need
to.
to have a political affiliation.
No.
Okay. It does not. Healthcare should not ever be any kind of profit.
Yeah.
Okay. The richest should be the healthiest. Okay, necessarily. Okay. It should not be the case at all.
Well, the craziest part of it though is like I have to show you the show someday. Saint Elsewhere. I have to
Mhm.
show it to you. By the way, it had William Daniels as Dr. Craig. You love him. He's such a smart ass and he's such a grouch. He is funny as hell. But
Okay.
it's like, and it has Ed Begley Jr. in there too. So big old tall Ed Begley Jr. with little bitty with little bitty Dr. Craig emasculating the hell out of him every week. It was funny. But no, the whole point of Saint Elsewhere was Saint Eligius, which was a teaching hospital for like the doctors, and they never had money. And this is 1982 when this started. They
Right.
never had money. It had Denzel Washington in it, had Howie Mandel in it. It had Mark Harmon in it.
Hmm.
Had all kinds of stars in it. Ed Begley Jr., like I said. But no, the whole point of it is like in the very first episode, for instance, there's like the head of the hospital. He's literally making phone calls saying, okay, we need green scrubs because the blue ones are too expensive. This is 1982, and they're all
Unbelievable.
and then the hospital, they call the Saint Allegiance is called Saint Elsewhere because it is almost a joke in medical circles. They have no money, they have no anything. They will have they will have people like victims, or they will have whatever going to that hospital, or people that are sick, and then the wealthy mom shows up and sends them straight to Boston General, and takes them away. This
Yeah.
happens a lot in the series. Like they'll take them away because they have no money. I mean, because they don't have the same equipment, they don't have the same everything to give them the care, and it's like we have to just have the option. We have to have the knowledge that no matter what era it is, you got to have money to be able to run a hospital.
But where's it gonna come from? They're actually fishing for donors, wealthy donors. That's why they nickname certain wings after these people that, pour
Mhm.
in hundreds of thousands of dollars, dare I say even 1,000,000 into the
Millions,
hospital.
yeah.
So and so's wing, because it's named after the donor. But you also have to finagle just like any other business. This is why healthcare should not be a business. Okay? So and so's patient comes in and gets, prime care because they're related to the donor or something, but there's someone else in there who's poor who needs more care who's not going to get it because they're not, Mr. or Mrs. Money Pig.
Well,
It's the
here's another
according
thing.
to your needs.
Well, Rockefeller, this is the thing. Rockefeller, I mean, Rockefeller, he had a thing, like John D. Rockefeller, when he got really, really, really wealthy and he left Standard Oil. He was the John D. Rockefeller organization. It was the all his philanthropy.
Yep.
He made a deal. He had a little meeting with his minister, and they were talking about what they need to do as far as giving. And his whole point was not to do another wing in a hospital. It was not to do all that. It's like by the way, the Metropolitan Museum of Arts, the MoMA,
Mhm.
that was basically from his second wife. He wanted to give her a gift, basically, because she was so into art. But the whole point of it was the world could see what she sees. That was the whole point of MoMA. But his whole thing was, we're not going to do this. We're not going to be giving money to like things to get this to heal this whole thing, to be able to do another wing in a hospital to be able to heal this. I want to find something to heal the sick.
Right.
That was his
Yes,
whole
that's
thing.
well, that's the objective of a hospital.
But no, that's what his whole point was. I want to give money. I only want to give money if it matters something, not just a wing in a hospital where people are just laying there and nothing's
Right.
being done about it. Like I remember I give this another thing. My dad used to say this. He talked about missionaries in like Africa. He didn't have an issue with them doing missionary work. He told me this is during one Christmas. He didn't have a problem with them doing missionary work. He didn't have a problem with them praying to him even. Where his issue was, he felt like, are you actually doing anything? Are you sitting there and praying with them and they're still poor? Or he was saying to him, I like the ones who are going over there. They can do whatever they want to with the prayer, but they're also building houses, and they're building houses, and they're building like yeah, like they're planting food, and they're building piping, for plumbing and stuff like that, like their old stuff like that, helping them out. Then they can do that afterwards. But then there are ones that go over there and they're just basically in squalor, and they're still praying for it, and it's nothing's happening. And he used to tell me about that all the time. He respected the ones that were helping build. Like
Yeah.
I could say that Jimmy Carter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like he was saying, okay, I mean, Jimmy Carter's a monstrous Christian, huge. And
Very much so.
he's a huge Christian, and he's going by works. And it's like that's what my dad, I wouldn't call him the biggest religious person in the world, but his whole point was, you don't just go and sit and pray and they're in squalor. You go figure a figure a strategy to get, fix it up, fix something up, work it. And that's what we see with the Rockefellers, with everything like that. It's like whether you're rich, poor, anything like that, come up with an idea, not just money. You also have to help fix things.
Well, I definitely say that this country absolutely needs some fixing, and, I don't know, these recent elections have made me feel a little hopeful on some areas that Democrats are not all lost, okay?
Yeah.
But even the ones that came in there, the Reds, that says, "Oh, we're gonna do this and that." Well, we'll see. We'll see where we are this time next year. And on that happy note, we're past time.
But I am glad that we had ourselves a thing tonight because this was a great conversation. This was
Absolutely.
this was a great conversation because see, what we did was we have differing views and points, but we brought up points about where we can go. We didn't have to scream and holler and fight.
Nope,
And it's like
not at
if I
all.
could help, huh?
I said not at all.
No. And it's like, guess what? The chaos and the screaming, hollering, and fighting are the money right now. What if we decided to change the thing, whether I'm doing it on Pundit's Pundit or my other shows, and what or I mean, and stuff like that, and other ones, or doing it here? What if we made brains and objectiveness the money?
Oh god, that would be great.
Yeah,
I'm all for it.
because all I see is I showed you a little thing and stuff like that. Remember the one of the interviews I showed you with Orson Welles?
Yes.
And they're talking British literature and they're talking all that stuff like that. That was the money. That kind of stuff was money. It got it got ad dollars. It got all that stuff like that. That was the money at one time.
And,
Objectiveness and
for some reason that went away, and I'm not really sure why.
yeah, yeah.
I
I
don't know.
wonder too, because that was the thing I would love to do. I mean, I figure I'm just going to say this. I'm 44. I'm going to say 56 more years left. Maybe 100. But the, the
Alright.
the biggest thing I would love to do in the next one, we'll call it 56 years, is I would love to squash the idea of chaos as money and start bringing some brains back.
Mm.
And and brains should not be D or R also. That should be and brains should not be black or white. Brains should not
No,
be they I mean an education should
no.
not be poor or rich. That's not liberal. It's like I want to see the reason I want to the reason I'm so huge into this, into getting kids eating breakfasts, those school breakfasts in the morning, even though it'd be expensive as hell, is because these poor kids do not stand a chance if they don't have a proper diet.
Of course not.
They do not stand a chance and they're in a desperate situation. If they can go think and they can get that stuff, I am complete. And guess what? If I give them all the chance in the world and they didn't go, then that's their fault. And they didn't go through and they didn't get everything. I can't say it's all the kids' fault. They might have crummy parents. But
Right.
I'm saying it is whoever's the part of fault if we do the best that we can for every single person, rich or poor or any of that. If we've done the best that we can, and guess what? I don't mind educating the rich. I don't mind it either. I want them educated. I want them to be able to I want them too. But if we can give ourselves a chance for everybody and it didn't work out for some, then it's upbringing, it's everything. But we did the best that we could. But
Right.
if you have a neighborhood, I lived in one for 2 months. You have a neighborhood where you have nothing but potholes, nothing but desperation. The same 11 kids are standing outside of a school that's still locked at 6 in the morning,
Yeah.
6, 7 in the morning, and it's locked. It might be warm, it might be cold. They're still gonna be sitting out there waiting. They're shivering, and they're
Yeah.
waiting out there. They have no school programs. They have no anything. It's all that stuff. There's no grocery stores there, not within a 15-mile radius. It's all
Jesus.
fast food.
Ugh.
When you have that, then there's desperate. Guess what? They live in nothing but desperation and chaos, and that is why I am for that. What I want to say, even if it is if I am a Republican, even if I am right of center, it's because if we can do something to give them a little bit of a chance to have a thought process, to be mindful, that they can be writers, that they can be whatever. But
Yep.
if people don't, I mean, in the black community, I've talked to people in the black community. A lot of the black community tell me that the biggest dream that they have, a lot of them said this, is the post office. The post office.
Well, you
I'm
gotta
like,
give
and
some
it's
that they've
holding a
got.
laugh. It's kind of holding a laugh, but I mean, guess what? It's government work and it gives you retirement.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
And that's the thing. But I'm saying there is a whole subset of people that don't even think of dreaming.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And it's like
Well, I mean,
that is their dream.
it doesn't do them any good because they're basically just trying to sit there and get necessities.
Yeah. And they
I
can't, and
mean,
I want the world to be able to dream. Black, white, Asian, everything. I want the whole world to be able to have a chance to dream. See, our generation and this generation are the first two generations that were allowed to dream. Actors, athletes, even back then, had to go take second jobs just to be able to
oh,
get, because they didn't
yeah.
make that much money. They had to do that. I mean, even the biggest named, athletes had to go like be lumber salesmen or insurance people or whatever. They had to do that for
I mean,
years.
Stephen King worked in warehouses.
Yeah,
He drove delivery trucks. He worked as a school teacher, all before he sold his first novel.
yeah,
Okay? He did real world jobs, and you can tell because a lot of his short stories and stuff are about some of his real world jobs.
absolutely.
He understood, okay? I mean,
Yeah,
that's a guy that actually had, some background.
yeah. And those are those are the things that I think of is that shouldn't be an R. That shouldn't be in anything. It's like, what if you gave them just a little bit of a chance, a little leg? It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be bootstraps. Everything. It doesn't have to be on that. It's just like, what if you gave them that thing where they had food every day, just that one meal, because it might be their only one.
School lunch programs have existed since I was in school.
I'm talking about breakfast. I'm talking about the thing with breakfast. So a lot of them are getting cut.
Well,
And I'm saying, what if they get that one meal might be their only one of the day? That's the whole point. Is like, what if you gave that shot? And it's like, that's the one big thing I have with Republicans. I'm going to be a one forever, especially when the Democrats have gone absolutely nuts as far as gender, as far as a lot of the stuff. And I know what you're going to say with Republicans, but the but as I said, but it's like I'm going to be that way. But the one thing I get with Republicans is I would get a little bit mad is they look heartless with a lot of things, like especially cutting certain things to save a little bit of a dime, and it's like it affect is a lot of that stuff's going to affect. A lot of that stuff is going to affect, and it's like specific people are not going to be able to make their. I mean, they're not going to be able to make money. Their mom and dad has to take 2 or 3 jobs.
mhm, I know.
And so what we need to do is there needs to be an education. Like I brought up the whole idea of the hospitals that getting money and they can be able to get equipment and everything. You do have to have a lot of money. You do. It's
But
not a
here's
bad thing
the
to have.
thing, where is it going to come from? Now you need to figure that out, okay? Knowing what you need and knowing how to get it are 2 different things.
Mm-hmm.
But on that happy note, let's
Well,
continue this
we'll
conversation.
take we'll take another week. You look tired, so I'm
I
gonna wrap
am,
up.
and I gotta go to the bathroom.
No problem. No problem. Sorry about that. It's like, but we had a great one tonight, and let's continue this throughout the next weeks and all everything. We'll get more next week. We'll get more topics.
Definitely, for sure.
No problem. And you have a wonderful night. Okay.
All righty, this is Yin and Yang signing out for tonight. Today is,
Yep.
Thursday, November 10th. You all
Yep.
have a good one. Happy Veterans Day tomorrow to all of our veterans out there.
Yep.
And till next time,
Take care.
over and out.
Yep.